morning, and I don't have any inside information. The lady that did it, she got in there. She made it happen.
And he doesn't shy away from opinion.
And I do enjoy drinking cold beer at ballparks. So if that makes me a baseball fan, then I'm a diehard baseball fan.
It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Friday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, 1010XL 92.5 FM with Aaron Williams. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. Glad you are with us to close out the week on a Friday that finds us inside of 48 hours until Championship Sunday. Yeah, 3 o'clock Sunday afternoon, New England at Denver. 6:30 Sunday evening, the LA Rams at Seattle. Kind of bittersweet here in Jacksonville still. I'm sure it's bittersweet in Houston and in Buffalo, certainly. Places like that. You look in the NFC, Chicago, probably very bittersweet for them. There are a lot of teams that thought they could still be playing here on Championship Sunday, but ultimately they are not. And there are 4 left. Denver, New England, of course, a subplot there. No Bo Nix for the Broncos. Jarrett Stidham making his first start in over a calendar year. In fact, I think over 2 calendar years. He has not thrown a pass in months, and he gets thrown into the AFC Championship game. Very similar to a Jeff Hostetler-esque situation back in 1990 with the New York Football Giants. But Hostetler went on to win the Super Bowl as they defeated the Buffalo Bills, as, of course, Scott Norwood's field goal was wide to the right. So we'll certainly talk about Championship Sunday. We'll talk about the Jaguar coordinators. News on Grant Udinski in Cleveland. News on Anthony Campanile in Arizona. And from a Jaguar point of view, I don't know if it's good news. There seems to be a lot of smoke around certainly Campanile at Arizona. Seems to be some smoke around Udinski and Cleveland as well. But we'll talk about those two things and what are the Jaguars going to do, quite frankly, if they were to lose one or both coordinators. Todd Golden went just scorched earth on Alabama's decision to play a guy that was in the NBA a couple weeks ago. If you have not seen this story, it is a wild one. Charles Bediako from Alabama. I was not honestly familiar with him up until literally the last couple of days. You don't need to know the name so much, but the story goes, he played at Alabama, entered the 2024 draft, the NBA draft, was not drafted, but kept his name in. Signed a 2-way contract with the San Antonio Spurs. Signed with an NBA team. Played in the G League for the last 2+ years. And now all of a sudden says, I got 2 years of eligibility left. I want to go back to college. Well, wait a minute. You can't do that. You played in the NBA. The G League is under the NBA umbrella. The NCAA said, no, you're not doing that. But a judge in Alabama, legal system getting involved, reportedly a judge that is a 6-figure donor to the University of Alabama, says, I'll give you a 10-day restraining order to go ahead and start playing. So this guy's likely to play tomorrow against Tennessee. Florida plays them a week from Sunday. And Todd Golden last night on his radio program basically went scorched earth on what Alabama is doing. And good for Todd Golden, right on. I agree with him. We're going to play his comments in just a little bit here on Hacker After Dark. But a pretty crazy story in the world of college basketball, and one that could open up a whole hornet's nest of issues moving forward. So we got a lot to get into. Jacksonville, we are with you until 10 o'clock tonight to close out the week, and we are certainly glad you are spending part of your Friday evening with us. Every night here on Hacker After Dark, we do kick it off with a big deal of the night and Aaron Williams. Let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal?
What is the big deal?
No, because it is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
So first and foremost, let's talk about the coordinator situation here in Jacksonville. Let's begin with Anthony Campanile. Now, we talked about this last night. Camp went out to Arizona for an in-person interview yesterday after already doing a virtual interview with the Cardinals this past weekend. So he's now had 2 opportunities to impress Arizona management and ownership. And apparently he has made an impact because according to some NFL insiders, including, I believe it was Jeremy Fowler, it was a couple of them, Anthony Campanile is, quote, firmly in the mix when it comes to the Arizona Cardinal opening. Now, there are some people in the desert that will tell you Clint Kubiak is in play out there. There are some people that will tell you Vance Joseph is in play out there. And there's some people that will tell you Raheem Morris is in play out there. So it's not a done deal that Campanile would go to Arizona. But when you hear NFL insiders using terms like firmly in the mix, then you have to start wondering if Campanile has coached his final game as the Jaguar defensive coordinator. Now, to Grant Udinski, he interviewed for the second time today with Cleveland. Much like Camp, Udinski did a virtual Zoom interview with Cleveland last Saturday. He proceeded to the finalists list, if you will, for a second interview, and he interviewed in person today up with the Cleveland Browns management and ownership. And that appears to be a 3-horse race. Udinski is in play. They will tell you Shieldhouse from the Rams is in play. Aaron, you certainly know a lot about him being a Rams fan. And Jim Schwartz is in play in Cleveland. Now, what a lot of Cleveland people will tell you, at least the ones that I've talked to, both on air and off air, is they still believe Jim Schwartz is probably the favorite because they simply don't want to lose him. The Cleveland defense was awesome. If they were to not hire Jim Schwartz and hire somebody 25 or 30 years younger than him, Schwartz will probably be like, well, that's ridiculous. I'm out of here and go to greener pastures elsewhere. A lot of people say, well, you need to keep the defense intact. You need to keep what they're doing intact. Hire Schwartz. Bring in an offensive coordinator. Or you could go the exact opposite route. You could hire one of these young offensive minds like a Grant Udinski, lose Jim Schwartz or potentially lose Jim Schwartz, and then hope that Udinski can put together a good staff starting with the defensive coordinator. So, again, this has been a roller coaster pretty much for the last week and a half when it comes to Camp and Udinski. Some days you feel like both are coming back. Some days you feel like one's gone and one's coming back. And then there are days like today where I'm starting to wonder if both guys are gone. If Camp gets the job with Arizona, if Udinski gets the job with Cleveland. Now, a couple of things. Cleveland has been doing interviews for their job opening for the last 2.5 weeks. Amazingly, and I do mean this, amazingly, they are not Rooney Rule compliant yet. And they won't be until early to mid next week. So even if the Browns want to hire Grant Udinski tonight after his interview, maybe they do, maybe they don't, we'll have no idea until early to mid next week when they're Rooney Rule compliant. Which gives Udinski, by the way, an opportunity to go to Buffalo and interview with the Bills on Sunday. I do think Udinski is one of the 3 guys that's going to get that job in Cleveland. I think it's either him. Am I saying it right? Shieldhouse, Aaron? Is that how you pronounce it? I believe that is correct. I believe so. We'll see, but I think it is. I know he was in play for Jacksonville last year as well. We certainly talked with him. And then Jim Schwartz is obviously in play as well. So those are the 3 guys. One of those 3 is going to be the brand new head coach, in my opinion, of the Cleveland Browns. Now to the Arizona Cardinals. It certainly appears they want to go defense, which is somewhat surprising to me because they just had Jonathan Gannon, the old defensive coordinator from Philadelphia, and it obviously did not work out there. Yet it appears, based on everybody you talk to out in the desert, Campanile, Vance Joseph, who's already been there once, mind you, that would be odd. Raheem Morris is a name that you hear. The only really offensive name you hear with Arizona is Kubiak. A lot of defensive names out there. Campanile would fit that, obviously, if they want to go defense again. I would think that didn't work for you just for the last couple of years. Why wouldn't you try something different? But what do I know? But again, when you have insiders like Jeremy Fowler saying after Campanile's in-person interview, he is, quote, firmly in the mix for the Arizona job, that does lead the mind to wander. And the problem with all of this is it's January 23rd here. I mean, we're going into Championship Sunday. What if middle of next week, end of January, the Jaguars do lose both coordinators, which is certainly plausible, right? I mean, they could lose both coordinators on the eve of the Senior Bowl, less than a month till the Combine. We thought it was going to be a relatively quiet offseason here in Jacksonville. That would certainly not be the case if they have to hire a new offensive coordinator and a new defensive coordinator. Now, my question would be, because Liam Cohen is the primary play caller, would you promote from within at offensive coordinator? Whether that's a Shane Waldron or whomever, to keep some sort of consistency with the staff if you lose Udinski, and who knows how many guys he may take with him, mind you. But would you just simply promote a guy like perhaps a Shane Waldron? Defensively, that's going to be the bigger issue. Because if Campanile leaves, one would think he would take some guys with him. And then you're kind of behind the eight ball, having to get a defensive coordinator figured out at the latter stages of January, beginning stages of February. So, what does all of this mean? It means I wish Arizona and Cleveland would make up their mind one way or the other. I wish we'd have some clarity on this topic one way or the other. If Campanile is going to Arizona, I wish they'd let us know. If Udinski's going to Cleveland, I wish they let us know. But Cleveland can't because they're not even Rooney Rule compliant yet. And the crazy thing about Cleveland, I don't know if you guys saw this. I was mentioning it to Blue earlier. Tom Pelissero on the Rich Eisen show earlier today was asked about the Cleveland job, and he basically brought up, well, Cleveland's all about analytics. They're analytically driven when it comes to these coaching searches. They will do like comprehensive checks on these guys. These guys will write essays and essentially do like homework for the organization. And I'm looking at this and watching this, and I'm saying, do what? You're making, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars being accomplished coordinators or former head coaches in this league. And you're going to go interview in Cleveland. They want you to do an essay? What's the essay on? Why do I want to be the coach of the Cleveland Browns? Are you kidding? What kind of homework do you give 40, 45, 50-year-old men that want to be the head coach of an NFL football team? That is wild to me. And Pelissero also mentioned, and it makes sense now, when you see guys like Mike McDaniel and like Jesse Minter taking their name out of the running for the Cleveland job, well, maybe that's part of the reason why. I'm not doing an essay. I'm not doing homework for you. Your homework is looking at my resume should be the answer for some of these guys. Wild stuff from how they do things in Cleveland, but because they are so analytically driven, who would be a perfect fit there when you think about it? Probably a guy like Grant Udinski. So again, hopefully we'll have clarity by middle of next week. Hopefully we'll find out sooner rather than later. And we need to, because the Jaguars, if they were to lose one or both of their coordinators, you need time to be able to find the right guy. And a lot of guys are getting snatched up now, being hired on by this team and that team. So the Jaguars are losing out on some of the pot here for these coordinator hires because they don't know if Campanile or Udinski will be back in 2026. I certainly hope both of them are back. I just wish we knew one way or the other. We'll get into Championship Sunday coming up in a moment. I also want to get into this Todd Golden story surrounding this Alabama basketball player Golden went absolutely scorched earth last night on his radio show. We're glad you're with us on a Friday. It is Hacker After Dark, 1010XL, 92.5 FM. Travis Holmes of Big Cat Country and the Duval Dive podcast joins me to give a Jaguar offseason outlook in about 20 minutes or so. Also, Keith Smith of the NBA Front Office Show, as we'll take a look back at the first half of the NBA season. That comes up towards the top of the 9 o'clock hour. Glad you're with us on a Friday. With you till 10 o'clock, it's Hacker After Dark.
Dan Hicken.
Your mother tells me you're going to do one of your little comedy skits tomorrow.
And Jeff Prosser.
Why are we always yelling?
60% of the time, they talk sports all the time.
Newspapers are full of stories about it.
They are The Drill. Mornings on 1010XL.
Bueller. Stay cooler with Bueller.
Hey, pal, is that a turtleneck? Can't you feel it, Jason? There's a chill in the air, a definite nip. I mean, it is January. In Jacksonville, Jason. I didn't come here for cold. Well, I wouldn't call this. Cold weather gives me the sniffles. Sniffles turns to pneumonia. Suddenly, I'm in a hospital bed with a tube down my throat because Florida didn't get the memo about ignoring winter. So, switch over to heat. What if my system can't remember how to heat? Dude, put on these sunglasses. Whoa. Bueller Air & Plumbing can make sure your system is ready to switch from cooling to heat. We'll clean your heating coil to get rid of that burning dust smell and make sure you have the coolant pressure to keep your heat pump pumping out the heat. Huh, I had no idea these sunglasses worked in the winter.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
Spend an evening with James Taylor and his all-star band. The music icon is back on tour. September 22nd and 23rd, St. Augustine Amphitheater. The multiple Grammy Award-winning James Taylor and a night full of his biggest hits. Tickets on sale now at AXS.com. Spend the night with a friend. James Taylor.
Make more birdies with pointers from the pros on Brunch with the Tour with Dan Hicken and Jeff Prosser.
Tour news, tips, and inside info.
Teed up on Clearwater Irrigation. Tuesday morning at 8:30 on 1010XL.
Never have I ever called my sister from the finish line of my first marathon.
Hello?
You won't believe where I am.
Are you running?
Mile 26. I'm gonna make it.
Switch to T-Mobile's 55 Plus plan and get iPhone 16e with its advanced camera system on us. Plus 2 lines for just $30 a line.
Guys, I can't believe it.
I knew you could do it, babe.
That was amazing. Mom, how do you feel? I feel great. I can't feel my feet. Let's take a picture. And then you may carry me to the car.
Share every stride, every mile, every memory on America's best network. Switch to T-Mobile's 55 Plus plan and get iPhone 16e on us and 2 lines for just $30 a line.
With 24 monthly bill credits and 2 eligible port-ins on Essentials 55 Plus for well-qualified customers with autopay plus taxes, fees, and $35 device connection charge. Credits end and balance due if you pay off early or cancel. Contact us. Finance agreement 128 gigabytes, $599.99 required. Best mobile network in the U.S. based on analysis by Ookla of Speed Test Intelligence data 1H 2025. Visit T-Mobile.com.
Ace Carline here for Atlantic Infinity, and yes, I'm still loving my new QX60. Right now, you can lease one or lock in just 1.9% financing for 60 months, and every new Infinity comes with the Atlantic Infinity Promise. That's over $7,000 in added value. That's one of many reasons why I bought mine there. No pressure, no games, just a great experience. Make your next ride an Infinity from Atlantic Infinity. Visit AtlanticInfinity.com or the showroom near Atlantic and St. John's Bluff.
Is your backyard ready for the big leagues? Pick it here for Surfside Pools. Serving Northeast Florida since 1977, they have the home field advantage. Family owned and operated, offering weekly pool service, equipment repairs, commercial maintenance, remodels, and new pool construction. Let Surfside Pools make your backyard dreams a reality. Are you ready to float happy? Visit SurfsidePools.net or call 904-246-2666. Surfside Pools and Spas, your hometown MVP.
License number CPC 044080.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. When it's game time, Farah doesn't flinch. This is Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Yes, it is. Glad you're with us. 1010XL 92.5 FM. All right, Championship Sunday coming up this week. Now, keep in mind, I'm married to a New England Patriots girl, so in my house, there is a pretty big level of excitement about the Patriots-Broncos on Sunday. But I get it here locally. You know, I think most people here that I've talked to more concerned about the futures of Campanile and Udinski than they are the game between the Broncos and the Patriots. I think Buffalo, Houston, Jacksonville, probably all in the same boat, right? All three of those teams probably think that under different circumstances they would be playing this weekend. But at the end of the day, it's the New England Patriots, it's the Denver Broncos. Now, the Patriots are interesting because I have doubted them all year. And I still wonder how good they are. I truly do. If you look at their body of work, and at this point that argument is getting a little tough, but just look at their body of work. Look at their quality wins during the year. They beat Buffalo once, good win. In Buffalo, good win. They beat Tampa Bay, right? I mean, in the playoffs, they beat a banged-up Charger team. Yes, or last week, they beat the Texans without Nico Collins, and Dalton Schultz got hurt on, like, the first series of the game. So at that point, Houston was down their two biggest weapons on offense, and they were throwing the ball to a couple of rookies and to Christian Kirk. And that's what they had. And Cade Stover before he tore his ACL as well in the third quarter. So my point being, you can't fault a team that keeps winning games. I mean, New England keeps winning games. I just genuinely wonder for a team that is now 16-3 in 19 games this year, which is unbelievably impressive, I'm still not really sure how good they are. They go to Denver, and again, not their fault, but Bo Nix is out. So now you're going to play a Bronco team without their starting quarterback. Now, what the Broncos do have is a very good defense. What the Broncos do have is home field advantage. And what the Broncos do have is somewhat of a running game, although RJ Harvey, it's hit or miss a lot with him. Yet, despite all that, I think Denver, man, I'm so close to picking Denver to win this game. I've been going back and forth on this all week. I'm fairly convinced what's going to happen in the NFC title game. We'll get to that in a moment. I've thought that all week, that I know who I'm picking in the NFC title game. I just don't know about the AFC title game. Again, I'm 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other. I really am. I'll go New England just because Jarrett Stidham's the quarterback of the Broncos. And it would be somewhat foolish to pick against New England at 16-3 when all they have to do now is beat Jarrett Stidham in the AFC Championship game. But I don't feel good about that pick. I don't. But I'll take New England begrudgingly. I feel pretty good about the NFC game. I've liked the Rams all year. I think the Rams, as much as you can for a good team, flew in sort of underneath the radar in the NFC playoffs because they did not win the division. They had to go on the road on Wild Card Weekend. And truth be told, they survived Carolina, right? It was a tough game in the fourth quarter. They had to survive Bryce Young and the Panthers. And last week, Caleb Williams converts a fourth down in overtime. Bears have the ball at the Rams, 45-yard line? At that point, you thought, it might be curtains for the Rams. And Cam Curl comes up with the interception. Rams drive it down, kick a field goal, rip the hearts out of Chicago. Two games that the Rams very easily could have lost in the fourth quarter on the road in the playoffs against two division winners. Two games they found a way to win. There's something to be said for that. Seattle's played one playoff game. They absolutely obliterated a San Francisco team that was done. That 49er team was done after they beat Philly in the wild card game. After losing George Kittle, that was the final straw. No Nick Bosa, no Fred Warner, no George Kittle, no Brandon Ayuk. They were done. and it looked as much when Seattle put a number on them last week. So you got a Seattle team coming in off a blowout at home. You got a Rams team that might be lucky because they won 2 games on the road. Yet I got to tell you, I love the Rams in this game. Love the Rams in this game. Puka Nacua is a stud. I love Kyron Williams, Devontae Adams, Higbee, all the talent. Whittington, everybody they got cooking there with L.A. Jared Verse, obviously. I am a big Rams guy this weekend. So I think it'll be the Rams and the Patriots in the Super Bowl, which is about as good as the NFL could ask for under the circumstances. You get Los Angeles and you get Boston in a rematch of 25 years ago where the Tom Brady streak started. All the talk that'll be about that Rams-Patriots game from 25 years ago. I think the NFL would be thrilled if it were Rams-Patriots in the Super Bowl. That's the direction I'm going. Real quick, I want to get to Travis Holmes of Big Cat Country and the Duval Dive podcast. But before we do that, I've been talking about this Todd Golden story. Let me sum it up real quick, and then I'll let you hear his thoughts from one night ago. So Alabama has a big man, a rim protector named Charles. I'm going to absolutely butcher his last name, and I do apologize. Bediako. That's what I'm going to go with. Charles Bediako.
That was good.
That was good, right?
That was good.
I think that's the Wolfson education, Aaron. Charles Bediako. And Charles Bediako, no, I'm not expecting you to know who this guy is, so I'll briefly summarize. He played at Alabama up until, I believe, 2023. He entered the NBA draft, did not pull his name out like some players do, like Chinyelu did last year, like Condon did last year. They entered, but then they pulled their name out in time. Bediako did not do that. He was draft eligible the night of the draft. Did not get drafted. Signs a 2-way contract with the San Antonio Spurs. With an NBA team. Goes to their G League. The G League, which is under the NBA umbrella. Bediako is an NBA player now in the G League for the last 2 years. All of a sudden, Alabama needs help as a rim protector, a guy in the paint, because they're not very good in the paint. So, you think Bediako called them, or did they call Bediako? I don't know. I would imagine they probably called Bediako. Hey, you're not playing very much in the G League. Why don't you come back here and play? And the NCAA says, wait a minute. No. That's not going to happen. Absolutely not. The NCAA said, no, you're not doing that. You entered the draft. You knew what you were doing. You did not pull your name out in time. You've been playing professional basketball in the NBA G League for the last 2 years. You're not playing. So what does Alabama do? They go to court in Tuscaloosa. And reportedly, they get this thing in front of a judge who is an Alabama donor. The judge who made this ruling is reportedly a 6-figure donor to the University of Alabama. And he has granted Bediako a 10-day restraining order saying, well, the NCAA can't stop you from playing. So now Bediako is likely to play tomorrow against Tennessee. And this Alabama team plays Florida a week from Sunday. So Todd Golden last night on his radio program with Sean Kelly was asked about this. And if you haven't heard this yet, Todd Golden goes scorched earth on this topic.
And they were able to finagle the situation where they got a judge in Alabama that is actually a donor at Alabama to, write a temporary restraining order to allow this guy to play games in Alabama. I think there's a lot of people that aren't necessarily happy about it and don't necessarily agree with it. But, with all this intervention from judges, there's only so much the league can do. There's only so much other member schools in the league can do. And we just need some people to stand up and start taking a stand. And, this guy had a great opportunity. He was at Alabama for 2 years. He played there. He was there during the NIL era. He was aware of what he was giving up by declaring to go to the draft. He stayed in past the date. That has always been, if you stay in and you sign a contract, you're done. So I think this is a slippery slope.
You're going to play them a week from Sunday.
Is it a distraction?
We're going to beat him anyways.
Like that?
If he plays, we'll beat him anyways.
How about Todd Golden? That is awesome. How about Todd Golden? Somebody had to speak out about it, and then he's not the only one. Others have followed suit today. I know Seth Greenberg had a lot of strong thoughts about this. Pearl, the coach at Auburn, had a lot of strong thoughts about this. Rick Barnes, Tennessee, who's going to have to play this guy tomorrow when they play Alabama, had a lot of strong thoughts about this. But I love what Golden did there. Love it. And by the way, that Alabama-Florida game next Sunday just became must-watch basketball. Golden knows what he's doing, man. That game now is going to be circled on the calendar. That's next Sunday, 1 o'clock. That is going to be spectacular theater after Golden said what he said last night on his radio show alongside Sean Kelly. I completely disagree with Bediako being able to play. I'm looking this up. Yeah, by the way, that game is in the O'Connell Center next week. Alabama at Florida in Gainesville. You think the Rowdy Reptiles will be fired up for that one? That is going to be incredible. I don't agree with Bediako being able to play. And what Alabama's saying, what Nate Oates is saying, their head coach, is, well, international players are coming over and playing. And they've been professional international players for a couple of years. Alabama fans are citing Urban Clavshar and Ruben Chinyalu as examples of this. And you know where that argument falls completely short? The NCAA did not deem those guys ineligible because those guys did not sign contracts with the National Basketball Association. Charles Bediako signed a contract with the NBA, a two-way contract with the San Antonio Spurs, and he's been under the NBA umbrella for 2 years. Gigantic difference. And if this stands, and this judge, by the way, I have no idea if that's true, that he's a six-figure donor to the University of Alabama, and he got to rule on this thing, well, then that's a joke. How is that even possible? How is that even possible? But if this stands, hey, man, the watershed's open. Does that mean anybody that ever played at a school can now come back? Let's go get some guys back for Florida. Did David Lee run out of eligibility? Bring him back at 38 years of age, going up against these 20-year-olds, right? Al Horford, he's not playing very much for Golden State. Let's bring him back at 40 years of age. Throw him out there against 19-year-olds, see what happens. Could open up a hornet's nest, man. It could. So if you have eligibility left, even when you signed with the NBA, you can come back now? I don't know. Interesting stuff. Again, Florida, Alabama, though, a week from Sunday became theater, and I'm all for it. The Jaguar offseason could potentially be theater if they lose Udinski and Campanile. Let's talk about the Jaguar offseason to be. Let's look back on the season that was. Travis Holmes, Big Cat Country, and the Duval Dive podcast joins us next on a Friday night here in Northeast Florida. We're glad you're with us. Till 10 o'clock, it's Hacker After Dark.
Live streaming from the XL Digital Studios. Brightened by Harbor Dental Care, Jacksonville's first choice for dental emergencies.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
Life is about choices and the decisions you make. I'm David Robbins with Epstein & Robbins. If you're convicted of a DUI, you'll have to face severe consequences. Walking through the doors of the courthouse or appearing at a bond hearing can be extremely intimidating. Without the right lawyer, you're likely to make the wrong decision. Let our team help you make the right decisions in court. Epstein & Robbins, the right choice.
Epstein & Robbins. fighting for your rights since 1975.
If you are an experienced electrician looking for your next big opportunity, look no further than the Millard Electric Company, a trusted name in the industry for over 96 years. At Millard Electric, we tackle the biggest projects in the city, offering you the chance to showcase your skills on a grand scale. We believe in rewarding hard work with the best pay, top-notch benefits, and an unbeatable culture where people actually care about each other. Take your career to new heights with Millard Electric Company. Apply today at millercareers.com. Millard Electric, an equal opportunity employer.
Hey, it's Angela and Brian Wall. How many companies do you know in this day and age that actually want their potential customers to call their competition and get quotes from them?
That's what WindoWorld wants you to do. WindoWorld knows there are other window companies out there, but we also know those other guys. When compared to WindoWorld, they can't offer you the quality at the price that WindoWorld can.
And with WindoWorld, you get the absolute best guarantee there is in the window replacement business.
If anything goes wrong with your new WindoWorld windows, 5 years from now, 10, 15, 50, WindoWorld and I will be there to fix it for you. You get peace of mind with WindoWorld, and to top it off, WindoWorld windows increase the value of your home. So look what you get with WindoWorld. Quality windows, low price, the best guarantee in the business, energy savings, and an increase in the value of your home. A win-win for you.
Call WindowWorld today and get your free in-home estimate, or see them online at windowworldneflorida.com.
WindoWorld, simply the best for less. Thank you for your business.
WindowWorld also offers energy-efficient doors.
Make Capital Glass and Shower Doors your premier choice for top-quality glass solutions. With over 40 years of expertise, their team specializes in commercial and residential projects. From elegant shower doors to modern frameless enclosures, they've got you covered. But that's not all. They also offer glass railing systems, glass wine cabinets, and much more. For unmatched quality and service, choose Capital Glass and Shower Doors. Your vision, their expertise. Visit online at capcoglass.com.
Are you looking for a place to outfit your truck or van? It's Catlin Truck Accessories. For 105 years and 4 generations, Catlin is the name you can count on. This is Keith Catlin, and we know trucks and vans too, from Lear toppers, ladder racks, van shelving, strobe lighting, roll and lock bed covers, and everything in between. If you want quality products and great customer service, there's only one name. It's Catlin.
Who can you count on? Count on Catlin.
For 105 years, you can count on Catlin.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Focused, fueled, fearless, Farah. Here's another call on the 1010XL hotline, driven by Key Buick GMC, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. We have a Final Four in the National Football League. Of course, on the AFC side, New England and Denver. On the NFC side, Seattle and the Rams. Boy, outside of the Rams, if you had any of those other three playing on Championship Sunday back on Labor Day, you probably won quite a few matchsticks. There was a lot of parity in the National Football League this year. There's no question. As far as here in Jacksonville, well, there's question as to whether the Jaguars might lose one or both of their coordinators. There's a lot of questions to answer prior to the start of free agency. And let's begin previewing the Jaguar offseason with Travis Holmes of Big Cat Country. He's also one of the hosts of the Duval Dive podcast. And Travis is always kind enough to join us here on Hacker After Dark. Travis, how we doing, man?
Well, it's a great season despite the fact that the Jaguars aren't in the playoffs, and that's such a weird spot to be in. But hey, man, I love having expectations in Duval County. So yeah, it's doing great.
It's been over a week since the game. Look, you write for and are a part of the biggest Jaguar fan website out there in Big Cat Country. You interact with fans on a daily basis, no question. Has the fog kind of lifted a week later and people are, moving on, or is it still kind of a haze in the fan base, in your opinion?
In my opinion, I think people moved on pretty quickly. This was one of those ones where it feels like you're actually the fans of a winning organization already. I mean, again, I think throughout this 2025-2026 season, fans have slowly come to terms with the fact that, I don't know, these guys are for real, both on the coaching side and also the development of these players. And like, this is a winning organization. And I think fans have come to terms with that, that they expect things to go right, and if they don't go right, yeah, they know that. I think they know that they get an opportunity was lost in this postseason. That the Jaguars, especially the way that things are kind of shaped up for the Patriots and everything, missed out on a prime opportunity to truly, be in the Super Bowl. And that just feels like a crazy statement to say. But also, because of it, I think folks, the expectations, the floor was so low, the bar was so low going into this season that it's just like, all right, cool, we're on to the next one, and we'll just move on. And I think the switch flipped very quickly for this Jacksonville Jaguars fan base, the Duval devout.
You look at the coaching staff. Obviously, we know there are a couple of departures already, including Ron Miles, the secondary coach, who will not be back. The big questions are the coordinators. Amazingly, with the fire Monday morning of Sean McDermott in Buffalo, that means there's going to be 10 teams that have new head coaches in 2026, which is wild. 2 of those vacancies have been filled, right? New York and Atlanta. But you look, Grant Udinski appears to be in play in Cleveland. Campanile interviewed in Miami. He's also interviewing in Baltimore. Travis, what does your gut tell you with Udinski and Camp? Are they losing one? Are they losing both? Or will both be back in 2026?
So for me, Udinski feels like the one that's more likely to be gone. And well, I say that was my original stance, I should say. I should qualify that. My original stance was that if someone's generally going to take a risk or take a flyer on a guy, it's normally going to be an offensive guy, because generally you can find way more defensive-minded, talents in the coaching ranks. But with these amount of openings that have opened up one season after there were also, I believe it was 9 or 10 openings last offseason, my mind has slowly become being pushed on that, being challenged on that thought process, because I think there's quite a possibility that he could lose both. Udinski, again, I think just because he's from that Sean McVay tree where they're always hired younger, they're general managers, owners are generally willing to push the envelope a little bit and take a little bit more of a risk because you can find the right guy. And he has enough people in his corner that's saying this dude is really legitimate. Grant Udinski, that is. So I think he's probably gone for that, just from that part of the conversation. When you start getting into the Campanile conversation, it gets a little bit squirrely, because I could see him both wanting to stay in Jacksonville just to kind of mature a little bit more, but also I could also see where he's one of the top guys for multiple teams, but ends up not getting the job simply because normally first-year defensive coordinators aren't the ones that teams are willing to put in, to take a risk on. Kind of what I said earlier is because normally it's the offensive guys who they'll be willing to take that flyer on, just because it's harder to find out those types of guys on the offensive side versus the defensive side. So it's going to be real interesting, because again, he may end up waiting for the perfect opportunity, assuming that even opens up after just 1 year as a defensive coordinator. And you also want to make sure that either of these guys have enough time in the game, enough connections as far as that's concerned, to actually put together an adequate staff, with multiple of these organizations. So that's going to be interesting.
Travis Holmes of Big Cat Country and the Duval Dive podcast. I think it's only a matter of time before both guys are head coaches. The question is that time in the next couple of weeks? All right, you look ahead to the Jaguar roster, and all eyes begin to turn towards free agency. And we know there's over a dozen free agents on the team, from Dewey Wingard, Dewan Smoot, Austin Johnson, Tim Patrick, Dennis Gardeck. I mean, you can kind of go on down the line, Emmanuel Ogba, among others. But there's really 4 that people are focusing on. And that's the 2 corners, Newsome and Brown. And then, of course, Devin Lloyd and Travis Etienne. Travis, let's focus on the 2 corners first. Greg Newsome, Montaric Brown. Your thoughts on both guys moving forward?
Well, the fact that the Jaguars moved on from Ron Miles and could potentially, end up losing, Chris Richards, depending on if he ends up getting that Stanford defensive coordinator role that he's reportedly, top of the list on, could change how they view, this defense. I mean, if they lose Anthony Campanile, the entire state of the defense could be flipped up immediately. So the answer to the coaching question actually will significantly impact how we feel about whether or not these guys come back. And that's the piece of the equation I don't think very many people are talking about. We'll see where, again, Campanelli lands. We'll see if Chris Richards is still in the building. The Jaguars, the second defensive back coach is still in the building come, next season. And then that will kind of help figure out whether or not they're going to stay schematically kind of where they are. Montaric Brown, great zone corner, really solid at the line of scrimmage as far as press coverage is concerned. Had a great season, but also is limited in those press man reps because he just doesn't have that, that speed to kind of keep up with those guys consistently. And he also may have priced himself out of the market if you believe the numbers you're hearing out there, anywhere from $9 million a year to maybe even upwards of $15 million because it's a limited cornerback core in free agency. Well, yeah, the Jaguars can't afford that. That seems very clear. So then you have to assume just from the monetary point of view that Montaric Brown's probably not back. And then you get into the Greg Newsome conversation. Depends on, he may be something that's more affordable for Jacksonville, but with the skill set, you may just go on and just say, I'm going all in on Travis Hunter at that point. And again, there's a lot of moving pieces here. So I could see the 50-50 as far as Greg Newsome's concerned, because again, he is more, I guess you're able to kind of fit that within the salary cap limitations that the Jaguars currently are facing with the amount of dead cap they have and everything else. So from the secondary, I think Montaric Brown, I don't think there's a way that they can make that happen. If I'm wrong, awesome. But yeah, and as far as Greg Newsome is concerned, I think that's more of a 50-50 thing, and just figuring out where they're going to land on the coaching side of things, and figuring out if that's something that the new coach, or if it's the same coach, then this makes it a little easier. It's just whether about the money's going to work out. But I think probably neither one of them are back.
And to that point, we got to go quick here because I want to certainly focus on Lloyd and ETN. If you lose both corners, you alluded to it. I mean, with the production at wide receiver coming back with BTJ, Parker Washington, and Jacoby Myers, I mean, Travis Hunter is going to be a corner next year. Now, whether he plays offense as well will be determined, but you got to think Travis Hunter is going to be one of your primary corners with Jordan Lewis and Jarian Jones next year, assuming Newsome and Brown are both gone.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't view Travis Hunter as an either or, and I never have, and I'm just going to always push back on that opinion whenever I hear it in the fan base or in the media, is that he's going to be primarily a corner or primarily a receiver. I'm going to continue taking these guys at their word. When they say they want him to play 80 to 85% of the snaps like he did at Colorado early on, I think that was the initial plan. I think that probably got off the rails a little bit just because of injuries and training camp and all of those other moving pieces. But overall, I think that is the plan. I think they want Travis Hunter to truly be a 75 to 80% on both sides of the ball guy. And that I'm going to continue leaning on that until they show me that is not the plan, because I think that's where they want it to land.
No, it's an interesting point. I don't necessarily disagree with you. And this will be an argument for another day, and perhaps you and I will have that conversation. I do wonder why this offense began taking off when Hunter did go down. Now, was that simply a Jacoby Myers thing? Was Trevor too much involved, or getting better with Liam Cohen by that point? I don't know. But again, I don't think there's enough time in the day in late January to get into that. That'll be one for more like March or April. All right, Devin Lloyd. I'm hearing $19, $20 million a year, Travis. And if that's the case, there's no way that's happening. So I guess a better question would be, when Lloyd leaves, is that Ventrell Miller's job?
I don't want to say that, but I think that's just that's naturally where you're going to go, because you can get a great middle linebacker, or an adequate, especially in the pass area, middle linebacker, third, fourth round, fifth round, even often in the NFL draft. And knowing how well these guys, knowing how often these guys tell you that they're a draft and develop team and that they're going to lean into that development, and you've seen it in action in 2025. It's opening training camp. Sure, you can say it's Ventrell Miller's job. I think that's fair to open the training camp. I also think it's equally fair to say there's a name that we're not even talking about right now that can absolutely come in here on day 10 of training camp and say, nope, I guess this is easily and obviously their job. And because they are open to true competition, it wouldn't be shocking.
No, it wouldn't be. And you mentioned Jack Kaiser, Branson Combs, other guys on the list. Ventrell Miller would probably get the nod at least to start. But, yeah, I mean, the Jaguars have 11 draft picks overall, 4 that will be in the top 100. And then who knows what they might do trade-wise as well. But I would think Devin Lloyd, because of his production, has probably priced himself out of Jacksonville. And that goes to Travis Etienne as we begin to wrap up. Again, Travis Holmes of Big Cat Country. When it comes to Etienne, I guess my question is simple. Have we seen enough of Bashal Tutin and LaQuint Allen Jr. to be comfortable if Etienne were to leave?
No. And I don't think it's very arguable if you've watched the games. I mean, I know you have. I'm just speaking to the fan base from that perspective. For much of the season, everyone wanted to see just a little bit more from Tutin to feel comfortable to make that decision. It was the thought that's been in all of our minds throughout much of 2025. You haven't seen enough. You've seen the flashes to make you feel like maybe, possibly. And then you have the questions of, well, are those ball security issues popping back up? I mean, it didn't seem like it, but, you have Coach Cohen telling him to don't worry about covering the ball up and just make a play when you're in open field. We haven't seen the explosive that you kind of expected to see. But again, if Travis Etienne's right at that line where I think that he could legitimately be re-signed, I don't think that they will, to be clear, and from my personal opinion, but I think that they could. And that's kind of where I'm right on that line with Travis Etienne, because if you have to make a decision on all of these guys, he's the one that's closest to the number where I think, like, all right, well, if you really felt like you needed to make that happen, you could make that happen. If you're willing to spend $10 million on De'Ami Brown, you are probably can afford to spend $13 million franchise tag Travis Etienne to make sure he's back in the building and figure out a lower number from negotiating that to a 2 or 3 year deal. That, to me, it does not seem like a frivolous use of funds. So I guess we'll see where that lands when they kind of evaluate the free agent market over these next few weeks. But as it currently stands, Travis Etienne probably isn't in Jacksonville, but Jacksonville Jaguars fans just have to be okay with that. Just have to feel comfortable with the fact that you're going to have a few more questions heading into this offseason. No different than you had a lot of questions heading into last year's offseason, and it worked out pretty well.
Again, it's not like they have a lot of time. They, along with every other NFL team, it's basically 7 weeks, right? March 11th is when you can actually sign. I believe March 9th is when that, quote, legal tampering period begins, which a lot of deals are agreed to. So 7 weeks from this past Monday to figure out what you're going to do in free agency before the new league calendar officially opens up. Travis Holmes, Big Cat Country, and the Duval Dive podcast. Travis, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville about the coverage you'll have on the website and on the podcast in the coming weeks.
Well, on BigCatCountry.com, I mean, this is the time of year where there's a little bit less immediately breaking news. So we get to dive into the analytics, we get to dive into the film, we get to have those types of conversations discussing the team, but also any moves with the coaching staff. I mean, we just recently had the article talking about Ron Milus leaving and why that could be, could have a few interesting, trickle down effects as far as the secondary is concerned, both personnel wise and schematically, but also the different various conversations surrounding all the free agents we've talked about today and the other ones that are coming down the line. We'll see kind of where those moves lie. And on the Duval Dive podcast with myself and Kyle, a student of the game, Nash, we kind of talk about whatever the fan base kind of wants to talk about. But a lot of this is grab bags or someone telling us, hey, this is what we're thinking about. And then we'll build an entire episode based on what you want to talk about. So lock it in, the Duval Dive via the Believe Podcast Network on the socials, whether it's X, Twitter, TikTok, etc., and also on YouTube. But we are growing and nearly at 1,000 subscribers, so that thing's taking off as the rising tide, rises all boats. It's been great.
Hey, Travis, I know you're busy, man. Thank you for the time. We'll certainly have you back on as developments warrant. Appreciate you, my friend.
Appreciate you.
Non-stop Knowles. Search 1010XL Seminoles on YouTube.
My son had a meniscus surgery a couple years ago. Went smooth as silk, was playing tennis in 2 weeks. This is Patrick Malarkey, and I highly recommend Southeast Orthopedic Specialist.
Our son Eric's a Division I collegiate baseball pitcher who is having shoulder pain. We took him to Southeast Orthopedic Specialist and are confident that he's now on the road to recovery. This is Beth Anderson, and we love the care Eric receives at Southeast Orthopedic Specialist.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
I'm here with Danny Van Sickle, Director of the Electrical Training Alliance. Danny, tell me about your program.
Hey, Rick. We're a 4-year electrical apprenticeship. Our students start out making over $40,000 a year, and right now make over $90,000 a year, including
It's
benefits.
Hacker After
There's
Dark.
no tuition or student debt. You just have to apply and get accepted.
Did you say no tuition and no student debt?
You heard that right, Rick. Once you're accepted to the program, your only cost for the books and the course fees. About $800 a year.
That sounds like an amazing opportunity. How can I learn more?
Just go to etajax.org and you can apply there.
Apply by May 14th.
Tom McManus buckles his chin strap as he joins Lauren Brooks and Taylor Dahl.
I just love a man in uniform.
Helmets and heels. Afternoons 2 to 4. Served by Queen Law Group on 1010XL.
Hi, this is Dale Murray with Murray Automotive Group in Stark and Kingsland. Save yourself from those big city dealers and their fast-talking mumbo-jumbo. No matter what your automotive need is, we've got you covered. Ford, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and nobody beats our prices. I mean nobody. Shazam! Plus our exclusive 15-year, 150,000-mile warranty included on every qualified vehicle. And we'll trade anything from high heels to wagon wheels. Compare our prices online at ShazamAuto.com. Then come see me, Dale Murray. I'll be waiting for you. Shazam!
This is Dave Barker with IHRS. Are you frustrated with those trendy pills and lotions that claim to make your hair thicker and fuller? Tired of your hair falling out? Our hair restoration solutions have helped over 10,000 men and women restore their hair in as little as 2 office visits.
Call 904-777-IHRS. That's 904-777-4477 or go to hairforme.com.
The Brown Family YMCA in Ponte Vedra Beach is better than ever. Come experience our new renovated spaces, including an expanded wellness center with upgraded state-of-the-art equipment, recovery solutions, brand new locker rooms, and the Horsell Center for Health and Well-Being, all designed to help you feel your best. And now you can join with no joining fee. Plus, enjoy your 4th month free. There's no place like this place. And you'll love what's new. Visit the Brown Family YMCA in Ponte Vedra Beach.
The Jacksonville Icemen are back in town this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Friday and Saturday, it's Lizard Kings weekend. Go back in time to the mid to late 90s and pay tribute to our hockey roots. The Icemen will transform into the Lizard Kings with specialty jerseys and themed music. Friday, the first 2,000 fans get a Tom Coughlin bobblehead. Tickets at Ticketmaster, JacksonvilleIcemen.com, or call 904-602-POD. Iceman hockey is #Sub-Zero.
A new year is the perfect time to finally get organized. Hey, this is Lauren Brooks, and I love our closets from Closets by Design. They create custom storage systems designed around how you actually live. From closets and garages to home offices, entertainment centers, laundry rooms, and more. Beautiful, functional storage for any space, lifestyle, and budget. Start the new year strong with 40% off plus an extra 15% off, free installation, and 18-month special financing. Schedule your free in-home consultation. Call 904-878-9393 or visit closetsbydesign.com.
Spend an evening with James Taylor and his all-star band. The music icon is back on tour. September 22nd and 23rd, St. Augustine Amphitheater. The multiple Grammy Award-winning James Taylor and a night full of his biggest hits. Tickets on sale now at AXS.com. Spend the night with a friend. James Taylor.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Still present, ready. Farah doesn't flinch.
5, 4,
3, 2, 1. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Halftime, Hacker After Dark, 1 hour down, 1 hour to go. We'll take you up till 10 o'clock as we do every night here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. Again, thank you to my buddy Travis Holmes of Big Cat Country for joining us this evening. You know, we've been so caught up, and with good reason, obviously, with the season the Jaguars had, and now what's going on in the NFL coaching carousel. College football just came to an end on Monday night, and of course, you got Championship Sunday this Sunday, the Super Bowl 2 weeks away. Point being, we've been so caught up in what's going on in football, it has just absolutely been top of mind for almost all of us that you look at some of the other sports, right? You got free agent deals going on in Major League Baseball. Pitchers and catchers are reporting in less than a month for Major League Baseball. College basketball is really heating up, as we told you. You know, the Todd Golden Alabama story, and Florida's got a big game tomorrow against Auburn, a Final Four rematch. The Gators have won 9 out of 10 and sit 14-5 and 5-1 overall in the SEC. And then the National Basketball Association. You realize we're over halfway home for the NBA regular season. Most teams have played 43, 44, even 45 games. The NBA trade deadline is only a couple of weeks away. All-Star Weekend is about a month away, and it'll be playoff time in the association before you know it. Boy, the Orlando Magic are struggling. They are struggling in a big, big way. I want to talk about Orlando and seemingly what's going on down there. But as far as the trade deadline goes, right, are the Giannis rumors real? I would tend to doubt it, but it's being discussed. Karl Anthony Towns in New York. You've heard his name in some trade discussion. We already saw Trae Young get dealt out of Atlanta. Let's talk about the first half of the NBA season. Let's take a look at Orlando. Let's take a look at the Eastern Conference as a whole. And let's take a look at that NBA trade deadline coming up. Keith Smith is one of our favorites, the NBA front office show. He's also an NBA contributor for Spot Track. And Keith joins us next to take a look at the first 3 months of the NBA season and preview what could potentially be a very active and heavy named filled NBA trade deadline. Keith Smith, NBA front office show, next right here on Hacker After Dark.
2 receivers right, 1 to the left. Crowd getting involved.
Stay close to the Jaguars.
Fires into the end zone.
On the home of the Jaguars.
Touchdown, Jacksonville.
1010XL.
Rick Ballou for Coy Dental. That's right, Carlson Dental is now Coy Dental. Dr. Lee has been practicing there for 9 years, has purchased the company. The Coy Dental team still has the same great dentists and staff. And remember, if you get nervous visiting a dentist, don't. There's never a problem at Coy Dental. With light sedation for cleaning, then deep sedation for all your restorative needs. Coy Dental, located in Bartram Park.
And that concludes the Joe C. Jack of All Trades show. Tune in next week where I'll be installing my own French drain.
Joe, wake up, man.
Hey, John, I must have dozed off.
We finished those projects you started.
Whoa, my seamless gutters are actually seamless.
And they're connected into underground PVC drain lines.
And my sprinklers. Wow, look at that coverage.
Next time, just call me first, Joe.
I will, but I ain't singing that song.
Clearwater Irrigation
and drainage too.
Take a walk on the wild side and step into the great outdoors.
Look at this beast.
Captain Kevin and Captain Kirk join Jeff Lageman every Saturday morning from 7 to 10 on the Nimnet Outdoors Show.
You got it.
On 1010XL.
Running a small business is tough, so the Florida Small Business Development Center at UNF provides a free business checkup, a personalized analysis that helps you boost profits, your online presence, and increase your company's value. No cost, no strings attached. It's guidance from experts who understand what it takes to succeed in business. Whether you're just starting out or ready to expand, it's time to act. Complete a request for consulting at unf.edu/SBDC.
Checkmate. I'm Brendan Cecilia, founder of Checkmate Coatings.
And I'm Chester, the adorable chess man on the trucks.
There are 2 things you should ask yourself about your garage floor. How clean is it now, and how clean would you like it to be? A typical bare concrete floor doesn't just collect dirt, it makes dirt.
It is literally made of dirt.
As much as you sweep and mop, the dust and grit just never ends.
And drips from your car seep into the pores, staining the concrete forever.
A Checkmate multi-layer floor resists drips and stains. It comes in your choice of dozens of colors and sweeps up sparkling clean in just seconds.
No need to wear shoes in the garage and track dirt back in the house.
Gorgeous?
Check. Durable?
Check. Tidy enough to walk on wearing clean white socks? Checkmate.
Transforming your floors, making them great. Checkmate.
Visit CheckmateCoatings.com. That's CheckmateCoatings.com.
WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
If your home doesn't have a fireplace, CSS can install a beautiful electric or gas fireplace from Heat & Glow with no major remodel required. See their showroom or CSSOutdoor.com for a free estimate. CSS, you dream it, we build it.
San Jose Collision in Mandarin is proud to be an iCar Gold Class collision repair facility. That means they meet the industry's highest training standards. Experience the difference at San Jose Collision in Mandarin.
Jacksonville, you voted, and Baker Glass came out on top. The Bold City Best Awards are all about locals choosing their favorites, and you picked them for Best Auto Glass and Best Glass and Mirror Service.
I'm back with Baker Glass. No one treats you better.
When the team heats up and the temps climb high, Sunrise Heating and AC keeps you cool. That's no lie. From kickoff to overtime and every long drive, they'll keep your home feeling fresh and alive. When your system's down, don't sweat the score. Sunrise Heating and AC of North Florida is ready to restore. Fast, honest service from a local crew, keeping Jacksonville fans chill all season through. Your comfort starts here at sunriseheatingandac.com.
Touchdown! Mark Watson with Hardball Creative. Now's the perfect time to order Logo coffee mugs, or maybe a Logo Stick brand tumbler. They're seriously ice cold and look great with your company logo. Hardballcreative.com.
Hardball Creative. Hardball does it all.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. When it's game time, Farah doesn't flinch. Here's another call on the 1010XL hotline, driven by Key Buick GMC, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty.
10XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. You know, we've been so caught up in the NFL and the Jaguars, obviously, and in college football. You look on that calendar, and we're past the halfway point in the NBA season. Hard to believe. The trade deadline is coming up. Heck, All-Star Weekend is not that far ahead, as a lot of shift will focus now on the National Basketball Association. With that, let's talk about the Orlando Magic and the association as a whole with one of our favorites, Keith Smith of the NBA Front Office Show. He also does a terrific job with Spot Track covering the league, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Keith, how we doing, man?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Hey, Keith, thank you for the time as always. All right, I want to talk big picture NBA with you in a moment, but let's obviously begin with Orlando. Look, they're above 500, but once again, Keith, for the second year in a row, man, they just cannot stay healthy. Paolo's missed a lot of time. Wagner's missed a lot of time. In fact, both Wagners have. They're both back now. Jalen Suggs has been out. I would just love to see what would happen if this Orlando team was even remotely healthy.
Yeah, you, me, everybody, I think is in that same boat. As you referenced, it's not these minor injuries to back end rotation guys. These are their main cogs of this team. About the only guy who has been healthy that they count on game to game for scoring all year is Desmond Bane. He hasn't missed much time, but Wagner's missed a chunk of time, and Banchero. Now they're both back and playing, but Jalen Suggs is out. And that's been the story for the Magic for a couple seasons now, where it is lose a guy, lose another guy, one of those guys comes back, but then a third guy goes out. And it's generally been in that trio of Banchero, Wagner, and Suggs. And it's hard to get a full read on exactly who this team is, what they need when they've been so banged up. It's, you'd like to be able to say with the trade deadline about 2.5 weeks away that, okay, they need to go get, X, Y, and Z and fill these holes. But I think the Magic are still trying to figure out exactly who they are because of the lack of health this season.
Jalen Suggs has a former football background in high school. Does that maybe work against him? Because, look, I love watching him play, but he throws his body all over the place. I mean, he gives unbelievable effort defensively, but this is now 3 years in a row where he's had injury problems. Does he need to change the way he's playing?
Yeah, what's interesting, it reminds me a little bit of Marcus Smart with the Celtics. Back when he was kind of at his peak of his career, the Celtics had kind of looked at it and said, all right, hey, we need you to dial it back. You don't need to get every loose ball that's out there. And you don't need to be diving on the floor on every play and banging bodies and taking charges and everything else. And eventually they figured out, all right, he's not going to change and he's not capable of being a different kind kind of player. And then the Celtics ultimately moved on from Marcus Smart. So that was, not saying the Magic are anywhere near that point with Jalen Suggs, but this is a guy, they have considerable money invested in him. He's a huge, key player for this team. And if he can't figure out a way to avoid some of these injuries, they may need to tell him, all right, hey, we really need to dial it back or start playing him less minutes or something, because something has to give here. The Magic have to find a way to keep him on the floor.
Keith Smith of the NBA Front Office Show, also Spot Track covering the NBA. He's with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Final Orlando-centric question, Keith. Again, it's hard because we haven't seen these guys fully healthy really for about 2.5 months, quite frankly. But at some point, Suggs will come back. And with the Wagners and with Banchero healthy, I mean, where would you put a healthy Orlando in the grand scheme of things in the Eastern Conference?
Yeah, they're probably in that second, third tier of teams simply because we don't know, what they'll be when they are healthy. We think they'll, be a pretty good team. But right now, I think Detroit and Boston have kind of started to pull away. Detroit's in a tier of their own. Then I think the Celtics have proven to be the next best team. The Knicks, then I have slipped. The Cavs haven't played very well. So I think the Magic are probably in that group with the Knicks, the Cavs, the Raptors, the Sixers. It's a bunch of teams that are pretty good, but none of them have really separated themselves very much from the others. And that's, just a lot of it's probably going to come down to who's healthy down the stretch, who's able to, stack a few wins, because they've got guys on the floor that maybe they didn't expect to have out there. And because we're in a spot now where this is, health is just as important, for these teams, because I think those teams can all feel very confident they're going to be in the playoffs. It's, no one's really coming up behind them. They're not all that close to falling out of, playoff picture. So there becomes a little bit of, all right, well, do we want to chase home court advantage, or do we need to start managing guys a little bit, making sure we're healthy for this playoff run?
You mentioned Boston. There was a thought when Tatum went down in the playoffs last year with the Achilles that this might be a throwaway year. I mean, Porzingis gets traded, Drew Holiday gets traded. We really didn't know what to make of Boston, but then bam, here they are. I mean, one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference. How surprised are you by this?
Yeah, extremely. I did not think that they would be bad, and I knew they wouldn't tank. It's just not who they are as an organization. They've got a lot of guys who have played high-level basketball for a number of years, and Joe Mazzulla is not a coach who's designed to coach a tanking team. Brad Stevens is, as an executive, that's not in his makeup either, is to build a team that's built to lose. But I didn't think they'd be this good. I thought they'd be down in the play-in tournament picture, bottom half of the playoff picture, maybe. But one of the things that they do is they play really hard every single night. And I know that should be an expectation, but the reality is not every NBA team shows up and plays really hard every single night. But the Celtics do. And because they do that and they show up and play really hard every night, they get some wins over some of these teams that don't do that, and that's allowed them to win a handful of games. And they still have a lot of guys who can really shoot it. They have guys who can defend and get after it. And now we're at the point where Jason Tatum went through almost an hour-long workout in front of the media yesterday. And you don't do that unless you're trying to, give people a glimpse or show, here it is. There's a lot of buzz that he's going to be back. I'll say sooner rather than later. That doesn't mean it's tomorrow or anything like that, but going to be back probably sometime after the All-Star break. And that's going to give them a lift as well when he returns, and we'll see what they do at the trade deadline. This is a team that I think feels like, hey, the East is pretty open. Why instead of treating this as a gap year, now we have a chance. Maybe we can go get it and be right back in finals contention.
Couple more for Keith Smith, host of the NBA Front Office Show. You can also check out his terrific work covering the NBA with Spot Track. As far as the East as a whole, Keith, you mentioned Detroit. Is it their conference right now? Are they the clear favorites midway through the season?
Yeah, I would say right now they should be. They're not overwhelming favorites or anything like that. I think, they can be beaten. They go through these offensive lulls where they just struggle to put points on the board and their shooting kind of comes and goes. But that's a really good team. Again, they play hard every night. They really get after it defensively. They're just behind the Thunder as far as defensive impact goes. So this team is really set up to do some things. Cade Cunningham is a full-blown superstar, and other guys like Jalen Duren, Isaiah Stewart have stepped up. Tobias Harris is still giving them really good quality minutes. So that Detroit team's tough. They should be the favorite in the conference. They've earned that so far.
I want to end with a thought on the trade deadline. Let's quickly go out west. I mean, Oklahoma City was off to a record-setting start. They've leveled off a tad, although they're still really, really good, particularly when they don't play San Antonio, it appears. I mean, is it Oklahoma City's to lose in the West?
Yeah, it still is. And I know that Spurs have challenged them, and the Spurs give them some kind of unique matchup issues because of Victor Wembanyama, and the Spurs play a lot of good ball handlers, a lot of guys who they're not going to be impacted the same way by the Thunder's pressure as some other teams are. So that gives them an advantage there as well. But the Thunder are still very good. The one question with the Thunder is they're pretty banged up, and Jalen Williams is going to miss some time with a hamstring injury. He already missed a good chunk of the start of the season while recovering from wrist surgery. There's no update on when Isaiah Hartenstein might be back. So that's something to keep an eye on with them. They've built this great cushion. They're still up 5.5 games atop the conference. So they're in a really good place to not have to push anybody and anything like that. But it's something to keep an eye on because we know when these teams play these long playoff runs, in the Thunder, it seems like they rolled through everybody in the playoffs, but they were extended to 2 7-game series. They had to work hard to win that title. We see sometimes there is a drop-off the next year, especially injuries, because those guys play so late into the season.
We talk about Boston maybe being a surprise in the East because of the injury issues that they had coming in. Is there a surprise in the West at the midway point of the year, in your opinion?
I think that the Spurs are this good is definitely a surprise. I think a lot of people thought they'd be making steps towards being a playoff team. They haven't been one yet with Wembanyama, so it feels like it's only a matter of time, and now we're here. But the real surprise in the conference is the Phoenix Suns. Nobody expected them to be very good except for themselves. They were repeatedly telling people like, hey, we feel like we've got a team here that wants to be here. And again, guys who play hard every single night, and they really make you work. And Devin Booker has been phenomenal. It's just a happier team this year as they've made their roster changes. You can tell this is a group that's very together. A lot of guys with some chips on their shoulder and something to prove, and that's got them in the point where they may not even end up in the play-in tournament. They're starting to push teams like the Lakers and the Rockets and the Timberwolves to get up into the assured playoff spot in the top 6 in the West, which is a shock considering where most of us had them coming into the year.
Final moments with Keith Smith of the NBA Front Office Show. All right, the trade deadline, as you mentioned, Keith, about 2.5 weeks away. We already saw Trae Young get dealt. That was weird. Let's start there first. That was a weird trade. Well, how do you explain Atlanta getting so little return on Trae Young?
Yeah, I think it tells us a couple things. One is small point guards who aren't good defenders are something that teams are really they're being very cautious of going out and acquiring. You better be an absolute dominant offensive player. And there's been some slip in Trae Young's game over the last couple years as far as his offensive production. He's still a very good playmaker, but he's no longer the kind of one-man offense like he could be at times. It's out there every once in a while, but it's not an every night thing for him. He's also had some injury issues, and I think the other thing is teams don't want to give up a bunch of draft picks. Now, teams are being very cautious with their draft capital because they know, hey, if we're going to be an expensive team eventually, or even, in the near future, we need those draft picks to kind of be what backfills our rosters. That's the challenges in this new apron era that the NBA is in, is teams have to be careful. And the last thing I'll say is the Hawks were just ready to move on from Trae Young. Not that they gave him away, because TJ McCollum's a nice player for them. We'll see where that goes beyond this season. Corey Kispert's a good role player, but the Hawks made it clear over the summer they weren't really interested in talking extension, and they were basically ready to move on. And the Wizards get a chance to acquire a player they wouldn't have been able to get any other way, and that's going to be helpful for them as they start to turn this thing around in the next year or so.
Final question. Trae Young was certainly a big name. 2.5 weeks out from the trade deadline. Any other big names that you think realistically could be moved?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to keep an eye on John Morant in the Grizzlies. He is, a guy who has been, rumored to be out there. At times it looks like he's ready to move on from Memphis, and then he goes out, plays well for them in the game in London over the weekend, and says, hey, I'm loyal. This is where I want to be. I don't want to go anywhere. So we'll keep an eye on that. The Kings are open to moving just about any veteran on that roster. So Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Domantas Sabonis, we're going to keep an eye on that. There's real mixed reporting on what's going on with Zion Williamson and the Pelicans, willingness to trade him. The Nets have Michael Porter Jr., who's a helpful player, that I think has really gone to a new level. So we'll see what happens there. And then, could a team like the Bulls start, it sounds like they're more open to moving some of their veteran guys. So Nick Vucevic, Kobe White, a handful of others that could be on the move there, that we're kind of keeping an eye on, all that stuff. And then everybody's kind of now this morning waking up and wondering what's going to happen with the Warriors in light of Jimmy Butler tearing his ACL and being out for the season. Are they now more likely to move Jonathan Kuminga to go get help to backfill Butler? Or are they going to hang on to Kuminga and play Kuminga with Butler out of the lineup? So it's a really, really interesting trade deadline. I don't know that we're going to see any monster blockbuster type of moves like we saw with Luka Doncic last year and Jimmy Butler, but teams are definitely going to go for it, because the Thunder, I think the Spurs have everybody feeling like they're really good. They deserve everyone's respect, but they're not unbeatable. This is not an inevitable title, and the East is wide open. So there are a lot of teams feeling like, hey, this could be our year.
It's an interesting time in the NBA, no doubt. Again, the trade deadline 2.5 weeks away. Keith, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville about the NBA front office show, also your work on Spot Track, where they can find you.
Yeah, NBA Front Office shows our podcast. You can find us on YouTube or anywhere you're listening to podcasts. We break down all things around the NBA. This is our kind of big time. We're a transaction-focused show, so trade rumors and the like are things we're really focused on over there. So if you like that kind of stuff, check us out there. And then over on Spot Track, we've got all kinds of stuff that we're building up to the trade deadline here. We had best value contracts in the league post yesterday. I've got worst value coming up here soon, and then we'll have trade deadline primers going up, as well as analysis as the deals happen.
Keith, I know you're busy. Thank you so much for the time. We'll talk again soon, pal.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much for having me.
There was a time when sports radio in Jacksonville was small. Then came 1010XL.
Look! It's gigantic! It's colossal.
1010XL. Extra large radio.
Are you ready for another historic season at the bank? It's time to lock in your seats for 2026 by placing your deposit now. Next season will be played at Everbank Stadium, but seating capacity is limited due to in-bowl renovations, and spots are going fast. Don't miss out on your chance to see the season's biggest matchups and highlight real moments by placing your deposit at Jaguars.com/tickets or by calling 904-633-2000. Go Jags!
Hello, First Coast. I'm sure by now you have seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We're an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We're committed to customer service, reliability, and have an unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today. From GFL, Green for Life.
This date in sports history is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On January 23rd, 1962, Jackie Robinson was elected to the Hall of Fame, becoming the first African-American player to be enshrined.
The best wings in town are coming to River City Marketplace. Leon Searcy here. Wingstop is opening another North Jacksonville location soon at the end of December. You always get fresh, made-to-order wings in 11 flavors, including original, hot, garlic parm, and of course, lemon pepper. Wingstop now has 18 locations in Jacksonville, always open until 1 a.m. So skip the wait and order your wings online at wingstop.com and swing by to pick up at the brand new Wingstop location in River City Marketplace.
Hey, it's Travis from Cannons of Jacks. Thank you for trusting us for 55 years of custom welding fabrication and vehicle towing accessories. When you need a trailer hitch for the family car, a gooseneck for the company truck, or even RV towing options, call us at Cannons. We can do a bumper hitch, fifth wheel hitch, anything for safe, reliable towing. Come to Cannons of Jacks, where service is our #1 priority and we treat our customers as we like to be treated. Check us out online, cannonsofjacks.com.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Focused, fueled, fearless, Farah. This is Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Thank you, as always, to Keith Smith of the NBA Front Office Show for joining us here on Hacker After Dark. My beloved Orlando Magic not doing well right now. And there's actually a lot of talk that they could be fairly active at the trade deadline. They might have to start doing something about blowing up this team. I mean, it's still a little young to do that, but my goodness, man. Jalen Suggs can't stay healthy. Franz Wagner can't stay healthy. Banchero's missed time. It's a mess down there, and I think Jamal Mosley, the head coach, is not long for that position if this continues. So we'll see, but it should be a very active NBA trade deadline. Gerald Ingram, former running backs coach with both the Jacksonville Jaguars and the New York Football Giants. You heard him all season long with me and Leon Searcy on the fifth quarter. You got him weekly here on Hacker After Dark. We're going to have the coach coming up here in less than 10 minutes to kind of look at Championship Sunday a little bit. Again, begrudgingly, I don't feel good either way about the AFC title game, but I'm going to take New England. There's a lot of me that wants to take Denver, but I'm going to take New England to win. I think it's going to be a good game, even with Stidham starting for Bo Nix. But give me New England. I feel far more confident about the Rams beating the Seahawks, which inevitably will mean the Broncos and the Seahawks will win, because my picks have been pretty bad in the NFL postseason, quite frankly. But I will go New England. I will go LA, and that'll bring back memories of 25 years ago when the Tom Brady reign started, right? In the National Football League, he knocked off the LA Rams in that Super Bowl. He beat Kurt Warner. And I think the NFL, that's about as good as you can do with the four teams that are left. If you get Los Angeles and a Boston market with the Rams and the Patriots, I think that's about as good as the NFL could ask for. Also, hopefully this weekend, but probably more along the lines of next week, we'll have some clarity as far as Anthony Campanile. Will he be the next head coach of the Arizona Cardinals? Jeremy Fowler of ESPN said, quote, Campanile firmly in play for that job. We'll see. We also knew Grant Udinski finished up his second interview in Cleveland a few hours ago. He is also scheduled to interview in Buffalo with the Bills for their head coach opening on Sunday. So hopefully by middle of next week, the Jaguars will have some clarity as to the futures of both their offensive coordinator and their defensive coordinator. Glad you're with us on a Friday here on Hacker After Dark. The coach, Gerald Ingram, 18 years as a running back coach in the National Football League. Let's talk to the coach about Championship Sunday. Let's do a little Jaguar offseason outlook as well. That's next on a Friday with you till 10 o'clock. It's Hacker After Dark.
Find Florida Gators basketball on 1010XL.
The conference climb continues as the 16th ranked Gators turn up the heat with a 5-game win streak. Florida and Auburn at the Swamp tomorrow at 3 on 92.5 FM.
Hey, Hicken here. I couldn't be any happier than to join the George Moore Chevrolet family. When I say family, I mean it. Visit their beautiful showroom today off Atlantic Boulevard. Find out exactly what I'm talking about. No pressure, just friendly help. And whether you want a car, a truck, SUV, electric, pre-owned, you name it, George Moore Chevrolet has it. And if you can't make it over to Atlantic Boulevard, no problem. MoreChevy.com is easy to navigate as any site you will try. It's never been more easy to use. George Moore Chevrolet. Together, let's drive.
This is Sheridan Tootin, Southeast Orthopedic Specialist, and Dr. Kevin Murphy put my right shoulder back together a few years ago, and I'm still feeling great. Now I'm using PRP treatment for my knee pain. No matter what you're dealing with, if you're enduring any orthopedic issue, my only recommendation is Southeast Orthopedic Specialist.
Call us at Southeast Orthopedic Specialist if you ever have a need.
Leave pain and get back to life. SOS. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Get your tickets for the Tom Coughlin J Fund Wine Tasting Gala. Join Super Bowl winning coach Tom Coughlin at VyStar Ballpark Thursday, March 5th and raise a glass to help local families tackling childhood cancer. Enjoy hundreds of wines from around the world and food from top local restaurants. Buy tickets and learn more at tcjfund.org/wine. tcjfund.org/wine.
With Lee and Kate's Glass, you're gonna see a big difference.
Hey folks, it's Frank Frangie for Lee and Kate's Glass. They say you're going to see a big difference, but what does that really mean? It means a live local person on the phone, a smooth, easy process, skilled craftsmen, and excellent customer service all around, with your satisfaction absolutely guaranteed. Visit LeeandKatesGlass.com.
With Lee and Kate's Glass, you're gonna see a big difference.
When the team heats up and the temps climb high, Sunrise Heating and AC keeps you cool. That's no lie. From kickoff to overtime and every long drive, they'll keep your home feeling fresh and alive. When your system's down, don't sweat the score. Sunrise Heating and AC of North Florida is ready to restore. Fast, honest service from a local crew, keeping Jacksonville fans chill all season through. Your comfort starts here at sunriseheatingandac.com.
Touchdown! Frank Frangie here for Coil Fencing. Since 1927, Jacksonville has trusted Coil Fencing to protect what matters. And I trust them too. From tough chain link to your commercial project to sleek aluminum fencing your HOA will love, Coil does it all. Did you know that Coil can also install, service, and maintain those automatic gates that help protect your neighborhood or business? To schedule a complimentary consultation, visit CoilJacks.com. That's COYLE Jacks.com. Coil Fencing, A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Still present, ready. Farah doesn't flinch. Now, the Monahan's golden moment. Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach, your local family jewelers.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. We have an AFC championship game. We have an NFC championship game as 4 teams remain in the National Football League. We will certainly look at that. Also, some Jaguar news. 1 week removed from their season ending, and both coordinators are getting head coaching interviews. Grant Udinski in Cleveland, Anthony Campanile already with Miami, and reportedly now with Baltimore. Let's talk about all of it with a former coach in the National Football League. My buddy Gerald Ingram spent 18 years as a running backs coach. He's got a couple of Super Bowl rings on his finger, and the coach is always kind enough to join us here on Hacker After Dark. Coach, how we doing, pal?
Oh, it was a great weekend of football. It's awesome.
Yeah, it was a good weekend, and we'll certainly get to the fallout from it. Obviously, heartbreak for both Buffalo and Chicago. Maybe some uncertainty for Houston with C.J. Stroud's performance. But first and foremost, Coach, some changes to the staff here in Jacksonville already. We don't know about the futures of Udinski and Campanile. Both guys are getting head coaching interviews. I want to talk about that in a moment. But the coaching fraternity is a tight-knit group, and I know you were friends and are friends with Coach Miles, who will not return as the Jaguar secondary coach. And, you know, I'm just curious your thoughts on Liam Cohen moving in that direction.
Well, I mean, Ron Miles is a class guy. He's a hardworking guy. You know, I've known him for a long time. And sometimes, you know, when people work together, you don't know if you're going to have the same chemistry or different philosophies of coaching play in the secondary. And, especially when you have old and young and, and different beliefs on how you should play things. And sometimes you just have to make a decision as a head coach to, are they going to be a good fit? Is it a constant clash every week? That kind of thing. But philosophical, those things happen, and the head coach ends up having to make that decision. Doesn't want to make that decision, but as the season goes on, sees that for the betterment of the team, and the staff, that maybe you have to part ways with somebody that just doesn't fit.
People always talk about exit interviews with players. Well, obviously, position coaches is the same thing. I would imagine you met with Coughlin going into each offseason, just like each of the assistant coaches are meeting with Liam Cohen here, and it's up to Liam Cohen to figure out what he wants to do moving forward.
Yeah, definitely. Tom would meet with us, and we get graded just like the players. We're accountable to our players' performance. In college, it's on and off the field, but in football and at the highest level of football is your ability to get players to perform at the highest level. And potentially, if, head coach has got to make a decision that he thinks that we're going to be better with someone or someone else becomes available. And that happens a lot of times too. I remember there was a coach here one time and, was assistant running back coach who later on became a head coach, and they made a decision. Jack made a decision because he played with the guy, and, and those things kind of happen in the NFL. So there's a lot of different things that go on.
The coach, Gerald Ingram, with us here on Hacker After Dark. Grant Udinski got a virtual interview in Cleveland on Saturday, and he is getting a second interview in person. He is along with, I believe, 4 others that are believed to be the 5 finalists for the Cleveland job. Certainly rooting for Grant, no question, although 30 years old, and the fact that he never has called plays in the NFL, obviously, Cleveland doesn't care about that. They were wowed by his interview, and we'll see what happens with Grant Udinski.
Well, what happens, when you win, everybody prospers. Players, coaches, assistant coaches get opportunities, and people want to know why you were able to turn a program around, especially teams such as Miami and Cleveland are curious that, how you did it in 1 year. So, what was the magic? What does this person know? Does he know enough to convey it that he can be responsible and accountable to the offense and defense and the total team development of Cleveland and Miami? But they want to know what was it that made the difference here in Jacksonville, because it's astounding and it doesn't happen all the time.
Same thing with Anthony Campanile. He's already interviewed in Miami, and now word comes out today that he's going to get a look in Baltimore. Rooting for him as well. It would be awfully tough to lose both coordinators in the same offseason. If I were a betting man, I'd say they probably won't lose both, perhaps one. But like you said, with a winning organization, people want to know the recipe for success, and that's why Campanile, along with Udinski, are getting really good looks around the league right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's your ability. People want to know, and every right. They've earned that through this season, and people want to know and see how much they know, and can they deliver? Are they, is there something special about them? And for what they have done this year, because they know they're taking a chance, and they were probably very impressed and say, these are 2 people that don't have a lot behind them, but they were difference makers. And can they be difference makers in their program? And are they ready to ignite themselves with an opportunity? Because they're looking at this head coach in the same way. It was his first opportunity as well to succeed, and he did succeed. So, good luck to them.
Couple more for the coach, Gerald Ingram. Coach, I want to get to the playoffs in a moment. Final thought about the coaching carousel. John Harbaugh was out of a job for 8 days, basically, from Baltimore to the Giants in that quick amount of time. Kevin Stefanski, kind of the same thing. He was out of a job for essentially 2 weeks from Cleveland to Atlanta. Surprised that both Harbaugh and Stefanski wanted to dive right back in?
No, not really. I mean, if you have the love and the feel for coaching and teaching and winning, I've known John Harbaugh and Jim Harbaugh for years. And obviously, I played with Jim Harbaugh, but I've known the Harbaugh family. Their whole family has been about coaching, and that's what they've always done. Their dad Jack was a phenomenal, assistant coach under Bo Schembechler and became a good coach as a head coach. But that's a whole family thing there. And I think John will be a great addition in New York. He's a class guy, just like the organization. Good quality head coaches, for whatever reason, winning and losing sometimes. But he's earned the right to continue on, within a program, thinking that, hey, there's only so many number of guys out there. So once you whittle down the new people that you're taking a chance on, or the people who have been there before, and just like Tom Coughlin getting a second chance of leaving here and going to New York, they're saying, you know what, we've been through this before. Let's go ahead and go for a quality, proven head coach out there that wants to continue to coach. And same thing with the other guy, Cleveland. Yeah, sometimes being at one place, just like Belichick was at Cleveland at one time too, and become successful somewhere else. So they like what they have there. There's something there that people like.
Couple more for the coach, Gerald Ingram. All right, this past weekend in the divisional round of the playoffs, look, San Francisco was beat to heck, all sorts of injuries, and I think they just ran out of steam. That was the one blowout. Let's quickly focus on Houston. That was not good for C.J. Stroud in the loss on Sunday. 4 interceptions. Probably could have thrown a couple of more, quite honestly, if the plays would have been made there by New England. How concerned should Houston be heading into the offseason at their quarterback position?
Well, I don't know if this 1 year, I think the one individual is concerned because, he's not going to be awarded the contract that he probably thinks he's going to get, because it wasn't just this game at the highest level of opportunity. I don't know why some people jumped on the bandwagon so quickly at the end, but their defense got them there. And he's been sporadic. He did go through injury. He did come back. He was supportive, but still, he wasn't playing consistent enough football. And the lights got huge yesterday. And then, he wasn't the only one on offense. It just trickled down from his inability in making poor decisions and accuracy to how the rest of the offense stumbled, bumbled, and, pressured the offensive line, the receivers dropping passes, receivers falling down. It just wasn't a good look and well enough to win a playoff game. But you kind of could see this in a little bit, that if they were going to win, it was going to be because of their defense, and it wasn't enough, to overcome his inability.
Heartbreak City for both Buffalo and Chicago. Tough losses for both teams.
Yeah, I mean, you go back and you look at that Buffalo game, and I mean, you feel for Allen, but he's part of it all, and it's a shame because when it comes to playoff football, everything ratchets up. It really does. Everything matters. Every detail matters. Every decision matters. And when you turn the ball over that many amount of times, and that's why he felt bad, for his team. You can't turn the ball over like that. And statistically, it's not about stats. It comes down to, in playoff time, when you look at each team, it comes down to turning the ball over, winning that margin and running the ball, even to make the standpoint of if they even think in any way that you run on the ball, how many one-on-one balls are you going to get? And your ability to sit there, if you're going to stay in man coverage, you're going to throw one-on-one balls, and it's 50-50 balls out there. You're going to win some, you're going to get some pass interference, and then still come down to is it a catch, is it a non-catch situation? It's unbelievable how it's read. Nobody knows the interpretation of it. You got what happened in the Rams game and what happened in their game of two different calls, same situation. Is the guy down or not? So it was great football. It really was great football. But you hate to see Buffalo end like that. At the same time, we're Jaguar fans, and we're saying we could have beaten Buffalo and we could have beaten Denver. And, those are the things that exist. And we would love to play New England Patriots because in no way did May play his best game either. And statistically, there was a point in time where they looked the same. And the defenses prevailed, in that game. Seattle is for real. They are for real.
Yeah, I would imagine there was not a lot of spilled tears in Jacksonville with Buffalo and Houston's outcome, and I agree. I mean, I think the two NFC teams right now, particularly with the injury to Bo Nix, whoever wins that NFC championship game, you have to think will be a big favorite in the Super Bowl. The coach, Gerald Ingram, final question, Coach. We got 60 seconds. The Final Four, I mean, who would have thought this back on Labor Day? Seattle, no. L.A., maybe. But then in the AFC, Denver and New England are the last two standing. Talk about parity in the NFL. This season showed that at its finest.
I mean, there's so much parity right now. I'm curious to find out what the viewership is right now because, I am front and center because it's interesting. But, the one guy, and I've never been a New England fan, obviously because having to play them, but I do give due respect because Brady was there being a Michigan guy. But I would say Mike Vrabel is as close to being a player's coach out there. Mm-hmm. He works that sideline. He works his players. Every play, he's complimenting. He's talking to people. He's coaching them up. He is a true player's coach. There's some good first-year coaches out here in program that did a phenomenal job. Our guy, the Chicago Bears, New England Patriots, doing a great job. I think the viewership this year is going to be probably higher than ever.
The coach, Gerald Ingram. Coach, I missed the fifth quarter this past week as our fifth quarter season came to an end after the loss to Buffalo, but certainly appreciate you joining us tonight. And next week we'll have a Super Bowl to look forward to as we're all excited about Championship Sunday coming up. Coach, thank you as always. We'll talk soon, pal.
Always a pleasure talking with you. Hardest working guy in America I know is you.
And thank you to the coach, Gerald Ingram, for joining us tonight here on Hacker After Dark as we looked back on divisional weekend, certainly previewed Championship Sunday as well in the National Football League. The coaching carousel also continuing to spin in the NFL as we all get ready for, what should be hopefully good couple of games on Sunday. You got Denver and New England. Of course, we all know Jarrett Stidham is in for the injured Bo Nix with the Broncos. New England, what a story for Mike Vrabel and completely turning that team around in 1 year. And then obviously in the NFC Championship game, Seattle and the Rams. I think most people will tell you that the winner of the NFC game will be a big favorite over the winner of the AFC game, and I'm one of those as well. I think Seattle and the Rams are the two best teams left, and I think whoever wins between Seattle and LA would certainly be my favorite heading into the Super Bowl. I like the Rams to beat Seattle. New England and Denver, man, I've gone back and forth. I get that Bo Nix is not playing, but I still think that Denver defense, the fact that it's in Denver, I don't know. I'm going to take New England begrudgingly because New England's been very good on the road this year, but I feel much more confident about the Rams beating Seattle than I do about New England knocking off Denver. Well, that will just about do it, man. Very, very busy Friday evening here on Hacker After Dark. We certainly appreciate you guys hanging out with us here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. And we have a ton of people to thank. Again, the coach, Gerald Ingram, always appreciate the coach joining us here on Hacker After Dark. Thank you to Keith Smith, the host of the NBA Front Office Show. Always love talking association with Keith Smith as we did a deep dive into the NBA. We've been so caught up in the Jaguar season and the college football playoff and everything that's gone on there. You look at the NBA, and most teams are past the halfway point. In fact, we're just a couple of weeks away from the NBA trade deadline, so appreciate Keith taking time out for us this evening. Also, Travis Holmes of Big Cat Country and the Duval Dive podcast. Always enjoy catching up with Travis, and we appreciate Travis taking time out for us this evening here on Hacker After Dark as we looked back on the Jaguar season and certainly previewed what will be a very interesting offseason to come. A lot of questions surrounding the futures of Devin Lloyd, Travis Etienne, Greg Newsome, Monteric Brown, among them. Speaking of Devin Lloyd, again this week, Devin Lloyd was named a Pro Bowler, replacing TJ Watt on the AFC Pro Bowl team. And it will be curious, too, a second-team All-Pro, now a Pro Bowler, and odds are that's going to be the last time he's going to wear Jaguar apparel, right? I think most people will tell you, and certainly most people that I've had on will tell you over the last 2 weeks, that Devin Lloyd had such a good year in 2025 that he probably priced himself out of the market for the Jaguars. I mean, we're projecting somewhere in the 18, 19, 20 million per range. And if that's accurate for Devin Lloyd, it's going to be almost impossible for Jacksonville to bring him back. But congratulations to him for being a Pro Bowler. And as we talked about yesterday, the fact that Liam Cohen is a finalist for the NFL Coach of the Year, the fact that Trevor Lawrence is a finalist not only for the NFL Comeback Player of the Year, but also for the NFL Most Valuable Player. Absolutely wild that both Liam Cohen and Trevor Lawrence are both going to finish in the top 5 for those respective awards. Well, again, that will just about do it. We certainly appreciate you guys hanging out with us here on Friday evening on Hacker After Dark and all week with us here on Hacker After Dark, as we always tell you, and we cannot possibly tell you enough, man, how much we absolutely appreciate it. Aaron Williams was your producer tonight. Aaron, great job as always. I'm the Hacker Ryan Green. Hope you guys have a terrific weekend. Enjoy Championship Sunday in the National Football League, and we will be back here, right back here on Monday at 8 o'clock for a Monday night edition of Hacker After Dark, where we will have a Super Bowl to start looking forward to, and hopefully by that point we will have some clarity as to the futures of guys like Grant Udinski and Anthony Campanile, both Jaguar coordinators who are still very much in play for some of these head coaching openings in the National Football League. So until Monday night at 8 o'clock, Jacksonville, have a terrific weekend and enjoy Championship Sunday in the National Football League. Good night, everybody.
All right,